Hello, and welcome to We Live for Saturday, your favorite college football podcast. I'm normally your co-host, Mike, but today I am your solo host, Mike. But even better than having a co-host, possibly, we have a fantastic guest today. We have Justice here from the Group of Five Hive. Justice, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing awesome, man. It's football is a week and a couple days away.
It's getting so close.
It's very close. Fall camps in full swing. We got week 0 games coming up next week, and yeah, I'm ready for it, man. I'm ready for it.
Oh yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because I was thinking, oh man, it feels like we've done a ton of previews because John and I we've previewed all 18 Big Ten teams. I think we only doubled up a couple teams, so I think we ended up with 14 or 15 episodes. And Justice, that felt like, along with real life, that felt like a lot, but it turns out you actually have been making me look lazy. So talk about what you've been doing.
Yeah, man, we've been doing team previews since April. We do a team preview for every G5 team, including Oregon State and Washington State. We've done them all, except we have 2 teams left to release: Utah State and Kent State. Those are the kind of the last 2. But yeah, man, between that and like player interviews, we've done, I don't know, about 20 or so player interviews. I was telling you before we started recording, at the end of the day, we will have done like 90 pieces of new content, whether that's a team preview or a player interview in the last 118 days.
That is some
busy.
work, sir. That is really impressive.
I mean,
go on.
Our team previews are pretty in depth. We do those with a beat reporter from that covers the team, and then we talk every single position group, even special teams. We talk about long snappers. We talk about offensive line, defensive line, the whole gamut. If you're looking for that, we call that our Worker Bee series. There's a playlist on our YouTube channel at G5 Hive where you can find all the previews that are released. Like I said, everyone's there except for Utah State and Kent State, and they will be there before the season begins.
There you go. So I got to tell everybody right off the bat, it is attached. It will be attached when I post it to this episode. Justice's Twitter. He's a great Twitter follow, but more importantly, his YouTube. Because if you are not subscribed to the Group of Five Hive, you have to be. You have to be. Because your team, if you listen to this podcast, you have a Big Ten team. And guess what? The Big Ten teams play the Group of Five every year in at 2 of 3 games, if not 3 out of 3.
Especially a lot of the MAC schools.
Especially a lot of the MAC schools, yeah. But as we'll find out in this episode, schools from all over the country also. So we kind of isolated what I'm going to call the most dangerous games for Big Ten teams, because when you're paying a paycheck, you're not trying to sign up to lose. Yeah. When you're paying a school to come play against you,
you're paying them like $1 million, right? Like, I feel like the million's like the going rate, at least, right?
Yes,
something like that.
Yes, it's a lot of money, and so if you get upset, it's both embarrassing and expensive.
Yes.
So, but every year there are some upsets. It's gonna happen this year. Somebody's gonna get got. Somebody you didn't see coming is gonna get got. So we will talk about all of that today. I'm really excited to get into it. Justice, do you have any? I got to ask though first, right off the bat, is there any? We're getting in the dog days of summer. Are any big summer activities you're into?
I play college fantasy football, so doing a lot of those drafts. Matter of fact, I was just in one, 3 hours ago for the FSGA, the Fantasy Sports Gaming Association.
Oh, cool.
Doing a lot of that. But yeah.
That's very cool. Yeah. That's much more football centric and productive than mine. Mine is more like water skiing. But
I like snow skiing.
You like snow skiing? Okay. Yeah. Good man. I like that. And where are you based again?
I am in Virginia, on the coast, on the border of North Carolina and Virginia.
Okay, cool.
So I tell people Virginia Beach, but I don't really live in Virginia Beach, but that's like the closest place that people know.
Yeah, it's in the ballpark.
Yep.
I hear what you're saying for sure. Awesome. Well, good to again have you on the show, Justice. And I say, unless there's anything you want to weigh in on the wider world of college football, I think we should jump into these games.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, cool. So first off is a game that I'm going to rant about for a minute before we get into talking about it. And if you're a longtime listener of this podcast, you've heard me talk about this game a little bit before. You're going to hear me talk about it again. On August 30th, the Northwestern Wildcats go to play at the Tulane Green Wave. They're playing at Tulane. Tulane is one of the best Group of Five programs out there, one of the absolute best ones. They are hot right now. They have a very good coach. I think it is absolute malpractice for the Northwestern AD to have sent them out to do this. I think it's crazy. I think you're asking to get embarrassed. And we'll talk in depth about the game. So that's all I'm going to say, but that's my warm up on it. But first off, getting into it, Tulane, after a very successful stint at Troy, John Summerall had a really solid 9-5 record at Tulane in year one. So my first question is, do you think that this Tulane team is a legit contender for the AAC title and a possible college football playoff berth?
100%. And a matter of fact, we just did a show, Monday night live show, where we went through and picked our champions of all the G5 conferences. We also picked our representative for the college football playoffs from the G5, and Tulane was my team.
Okay.
I tell you what really did it. I would say, maybe like 2 months ago, they wouldn't be my pick. But they recently acquired probably the biggest hole in their lineup, and that was the quarterback. And Jake Retzlaff from BYU is now at Tulane.
Yes.
And man, like that was like the missing link in my opinion. They are so talented on offense. They might have the best defense in my opinion in all the G5. And so getting Retzlaff was huge. And so I think Tulane is a very good, very dangerous team.
Okay, well that's good. Let's segue right into that. You were saying the defense is that good. So what is so good about this Tulane defense?
I mean, they're good on all three levels. You look at the defensive line. Santana Hopper, who's a transfer from App State, was an absolute monster in the Sun Belt last year. He comes in. They got Sam Howard at linebacker. The dude's just, an incredible story for one thing. He was a walk-on, and now he's like one of their best players. And then you look at the defensive back, Jack Chinchu. They did lose Caleb Ransall, but I think like just all three levels of that, they have like all conference potential at all three levels on that defense.
That's impressive.
Yeah. They have, and I wish I could remember the kid's name. A really cool story. There's a kid that's on the defensive line. I could look his name up, but he's on the defensive line and he's deaf.
Oh, wow.
And last year, like he used to play on the interior. Last season, they experimented putting him on the edge, and he showed a lot during the games, and so he's expected to be a starter and a key contributor this year. Like, so not only like is it a cool story, the dude's going to make a huge impact on the field as well.
I almost made a really poor taste joke, but like I want it to be positive, but I'm just going to go away from that and say that's awesome. And that's a really cool story. And, you love to see that. I think of the replacements with having like a deaf player, and like that was a representation of that. And I know there have been a lot of deaf guys who have played.
Well, there's a Division III school. Matter of fact, AT&T made a commercial. I don't know if you've seen it, but AT&T,
no, I haven't.
I think it's AT&T, but they had a commercial where they designed this helmet. It's Gallaudet College, and like the whole team is deaf. And
wow.
So they made, like teams have those in-ear communications, right? So they made a special helmet that has like a little, I don't know, like a little visual, like a little TV, if you will, I guess, right here. Like it's clear, but that's how they can send the signals to the players.
Oh, wow. I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty
That's
cool.
cool. That is awesome when technology aids football instead of getting in its way.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. And by getting in its way, I mean targeting, because we need to fix that. But that is a whole different podcast, sir. So we will not go there. All right. What about on offense? How does Tulane look, and what do you think now with Jake Retzlaff coming in? What are your expectations for this
I
year?
mean, we saw what he did at BYU last year, right? I mean, he had them,
Yes.
in contention to win the Big 12 all the way up, kind of till the end there. So a huge, they lost Darian Mensah. Darian Mensah,
Yes.
at this time last year, no one knew who Darian Mensah was. Everyone thought he was the third string quarterback. Well, the dude comes in, he ends up being, he wins the job in fall camp, is the starter, has an awesome season, parlays that in to go to Duke.
Right.
And so they had been searching for a quarterback all offseason. They brought in Sullivan from Iowa. They brought in Caden Samanza from Ball State. And the reports out of the spring were like, man, this doesn't look great. And
Right.
so they kind of got a gift,
Yeah.
they got a real big gift, right? And like,
Yeah. Quarterbacks don't usually drop out of the sky, and
especially like talented like as Retzlaff
yeah,
is.
and I'm not going to get into the off the field stuff because this is just not that kind of podcast. But but like, yeah,
I like not to talk about like what happened with him, but one thing I feel like is very interesting in the whole storyline is, the transfer portal is closed, right? Well, he never entered the transfer portal. He is going to Tulane as a walk on, and so like I
right.
feel like folks have not talked about that enough in terms of like basically like, so the transfer portal doesn't mean anything because you can just be a walk on and go where you want to go.
That's crazy. That's really interesting. All right, so I'll talk a little bit now about the matchup against Northwestern. So the thing about Northwestern that you think you have to look at right away is that the defensive line is veteran, and the cornerbacks are going to be very good. And they have, a lot of seniority up there, a lot of starts behind them, a lot of production. So I think Northwestern's going to be a tough defensive team eventually. The problem is that they're pretty much all new at linebacker and in the secondary. So that concerns me, in game one against a team as explosive as Tulane is. They lost all three starters, replaced them. Essentially the hope is that South Dakota State transfer wide receiver Griffin Wilde is it. And he has to be it because they don't really have a lot of other guys. They got to hope Stanford transfer Chase Farrell, can step up. Other than that, it doesn't look too great. Offensive line, I'm a little more concerned. Like, they have a good base in Jack Bailey and left tackle Caleb Tiernan, but others expected to start include transfers from South Dakota State and Xavier and Liberty. So I wonder how long that is going to take to gel. So look, Northwestern, I want to pick you here. I do. But I don't know if Preston Stone is actually that good. He had a good year in 2023, but he got pretty exposed before he got benched last year. So I think he basically has one reliable receiving option to go to. So even if Preston Stone is on his game, if you find a way to take away Griffin Wilde, the Cats aren't that explosive at running back. Maybe Joseph Hyman takes a step, and that is the guy, because Cam Porter, unfortunately, since the injuries, is not the same guy he was as an underclassman. He's just not. Unless, God bless. I hope maybe he got his speed back, but he hasn't the last couple of years. So I just look at Tulane. I feel like they're going to be more explosive, and I think Tulane wins this game. And I think it sends a major message. What do you think? Justice? Who do you got in this one?
Yeah, I agree. I think Tulane does win this game. The thing I found interesting is like maybe I'm just always so used to G5 bias that I fully expected like the line favored Northwestern, which it doesn't. It favors Tulane. But the interesting thing I found about the line was that before Retzlaff ended up at Tulane, it was 7.5. So you would think, okay, well, now they get Retzlaff. That was a big question mark. Maybe it's gone up. It hasn't. It's gone the other way. It's gone down. It's at 6.5. And so that just kind of really strikes me as odd. I think it'll be a good game. I don't know if Tulane will cover the spread, but I just found it interesting that the fact that, when they bring in Retzlaff, which it's a big boost, and the number comes down. That doesn't compute in my head. But to your point about Preston Stone, yeah, like Preston Stone was someone I really liked when he was at SMU, and then he had that leg injury, and
yeah,
I don't know if it's the injury. He was just like that. It was a mental block for him last year. But you're right, like it was a rough time for him a year ago. So I'm hoping like he'll be able to get things figured out, because at one point in his career, like there was talk that Preston Stone could be a Sunday player,
right,
and
right.
so it'll be interesting to see if he can kind of get his career back on track, so to speak, this year. But yeah, I think Tulane wins the game, and the player I was thinking about, the defensive lineman that's deaf, his name is Cameron Hamilton.
Cameron Hamilton. Very cool. I'll look forward to following him and following, if you and I are both right, this could launch Tulane a little bit. This should give them some good, anytime you beat a power conference team, especially from the Big Ten or SEC, that's a big, no matter who it is, that's a big victory. So that could put them in position. And they've got a couple other big games coming up too, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, like you talk about Northwestern, like making a mistake. Well, guess what? Guess who else comes to New Orleans? Duke.
Ooh.
And so
Duke's got a tough non-conference with that in Illinois. Wow.
And to like add a little extra juice to that Duke game, Tulane's starting quarterback, Darian Mensah, as I said earlier, he is now the starting quarterback at Duke. So
it's a revenge game. Ooh, I hate that for Duke. I love that for Tulane.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be an interesting game, I think. And you don't often see a G5 get one P4 team at home, much less two in the same season. So
that's exciting. Cool, it's exciting to have Tulane back there. I mean, I remember being a kid and watching like JP Lossman and like, back when they were a thing. And so it's cool to have Tulane be a big factor again. And I'll be excited to see them potentially make a playoff run if they're able to knock off the Cats. Now, obviously, Northwestern fans, I do have it is a Big Ten podcast. I will be cheering for you. I just am not optimistic. I'm not optimistic, and I think your AD should have pulled out of that game the way Indiana has pulled out of games. That's what I think. But anyway,
Indiana has their own very tough game week 1. I know it's not on our list, but man, like I think that's going to be a lot tougher game than
against who. Just mention it. That's fine.
Old Dominion.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is a tough. Old Dominion has been really good in recent years.
Yeah. I think Old Dominion is legit this year. I think they have a real shot at winning the Sun Belt. And I think, to add a little extra juice to the game, I think Kurt Signetti believes it too, because he's obviously familiar with Old Dominion, came from JMU. Mm-hmm. But this offseason, Old Dominion's starting quarterback from a year ago, who lost his job to a freshman, a redshirt freshman, ended up transferring to Indiana. And I don't think that was by accident. I think Kurt Signetti purposely did that, because I think he's a little concerned about that game 1, and he was trying to get as much intel and information as.
You're telling me he planted a player?
No, I don't think he planted a player. I think like he went when Grant Wilson went in the portal.
Oh, you're thinking that was part of the calculus and recruiting?
Absolutely. I think like that's a Signetti move, like to kind of play those like head games, if you will.
Like when Saban hired the Michigan guy before the Rose Bowl a couple years ago, like 30 days before. Yeah. I remember. Yeah, and Signetti's a Saban guy, so that makes total sense to me. That's interesting. Dude, I'll be watching Indiana Old Dominion week 1 then. I'm excited to see that. That'll be really interesting.
Yeah, it should be a good game.
The Indiana fans I know are really high on their team, and I know they're looking past Old Dominion. I know they are.
Oh, 100%. Everybody is.
So it'll be interesting to see that game. All right. So, Justice, in the vein of games that I think were stupid to schedule and you're just trying to hurt your head coach, UCLA visits UNLV on September 6th. So Dan Mullen had a ton of success at Mississippi State, then had a little success at Florida, which still got him fired. Still, he didn't crater the Florida program at all before stepping away to do TV for a couple years. UNLV had their best season in 30 years last year under now departed, now Purdue head coach Barry Odom. So, what do you expect from Mullen in year one, and how do you think being it impacts him coming off the literal bench, being in the TV world for a couple of years and now coming back to coach?
I don't think that's going to affect him too much. I think that my biggest concern with with UNLV, is I would dub them the land of misfit toys.
Okay.
They have a lot of XP4, like it's like a who's who of guys that were highly recruited, 4-star, 5-star guys, and they've all they've all had like some rough past issues, like maybe like behavioral, or just didn't, or transferred a lot, didn't pan out, and so it's going to be very interesting how he pulls that all together. I personally am not a big believer that it's going to work, just because I feel like you got all these guys, and like I said, like it's the land of misfit toys. How are you going to be able to pull that together and make and get a cohesive unit out of it? If he's able to do that, he's done something. They have the talent. I just question if they're going to be able to put it all together, as one cohesive team unit.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense to me. Do you feel better about the offense or the defense? And how do you think, how competitive do you think they'll be versus a team like UCLA?
I think with Dan, I'm not high on UCLA either. I don't think they're super talented.
No.
I would say I probably feel better just about the offense just because of Dan Mullen.
Right.
They have pieces on both offense and defense that are talented. But I think having Dan Mullen there to kind of run the show on offense gives me a little bit more comfort.
Yeah.
They got Anthony Calandria, quarterback from UVA, Alex Orji, a quarterback from Michigan. Those two are kind of battling it out to see who leads the team.
So there's a chance Alex Orji is going to play quarterback for somebody, huh?
Oh, absolutely. And if you think about it, a Dan Mullen offense kind of suits someone with the skill set of an Alex Orji, right?
Yeah.
I'm personally of the opinion that Anthony Calandria probably wins that job.
Right.
Just because
I would hope so.
I think because he's a better passer, right?
Yeah, Orji can't hit the broadside of a barn.
I don't think Calandria is that much of a worse runner per se than Orji, and I think Calandria wins the job. I really like the running back, Jaden Thomas. He's a really talented guy. He's one of the few guys that have kind of stuck around since last year. UNLV lost a lot, right? They lose their head coach to Purdue. Haj Malik Williams graduates. Ricky White III is in the NFL. Jackson Woodard graduates. They had a couple of really strong defensive linemen. One of them graduated. The other transferred to Virginia. They had guys go to Purdue, and so they lost a lot. But they brought in a lot of P4 guys. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all works together. But yeah.
Dan Mullen kind of challenged himself. He brought in a lot of project players, it sounds like, to prove that he can find the guys, and if they have the right measurables, he can get the best out of them. Well, I like that kind of challenge. I like when a coach will challenge himself. When I look at UCLA, I think what they did is borderline insane, because by all accounts, Joey Aguilar was playing well and had won over the locker room, that he was a good teammate, that he was a steady hand, that he was a good player. You're in year 2 of a rebuild. But Deshaun Foster is a gambling man. He's a riverboat gambler for sure. And he decided to push all that away to take Nico Iamaleava from Tennessee post spring ball. So you've got a guy who reportedly, allegedly, was threatening to hold out of the playoff if he didn't get paid more. And you're bringing him in and trusting that he's going to build the relationships you need to and do the work necessary with all of the receivers in the offseason to be up to snuff by week, I guess this is week 2. This scares me a lot.
Sure.
This scares me a lot. And here's the thing. I believe that UCLA has Utah in week 1. I'm pretty sure. So we're talking about potentially 2 out of conference losses, because I think UCLA would be pretty good on defense, right? Especially their defensive line. But again, everything is new with the linebackers and the secondary.
Yeah.
And in this game, I don't know. I feel like this is a coin flip. This is very coin flippy to me, like the way I look at it.
It's two not, in my opinion, it's not two, like, it's two kind of average to bad teams.
Yes.
You know, and like the whole Nico thing just blows my mind, because, like, to your point, I don't know that you got any better, but I do know you spent a way more money.
Right.
Spent a lot more money, and it's probably not going to produce any more wins on the field. And like, and to your point, it could blow the whole thing up and piss all the rest of the team off.
And they lost their best receivers, so they don't have really good weapons for him to throw to.
There is one guy that I do like, Quasi Gilmer. I think Quasi is the one guy to, like, watch out for, you know, from the offensive, you know, skill positions.
Yes, Quasi Gilmer is a guy who's flashed last year and can absolutely be a top target for them. You know, I mean, they got some guys. They got a pretty good tight end. You know, they got who's coming off an ACL tear, but was pretty good before that. They've got some offensive line transfers. I'm not saying UCLA can't be improved. I'm just saying that the way they schedule, they've done Deshaun Foster no favors. Last year, it was LSU out of conference. This year, you've got Utah, and you got to play at UNLV. I think that's, you know, I think you're sabotaging your own coach. That's what I think you're doing when you send them out there. And don't be surprised if UCLA has 2 out of conference losses, because Utah is very tough. And I think this, like I said, it's a coin flip, but I'm not going to be surprised at all if UCLA doesn't lose this game straight up to UNLV. So I got to ask, whom do you have in this one?
Man, if I had to pick, I'd probably lean UCLA, but, you know, it's a close game.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, moving along. Let's talk about Washington at Wazoo on September 20th. It's an in-state rivalry game. A lot of hate, a lot of feelings. Wazoo coach Jimmy Rogers came up via the FCS, and that's where he won a national title as head coach of the South Dakota State Jackrabbits. He did big things at the FCS level. What can he do here? So what do you think of Jimmy Rogers and his staff that he's assembled?
I mean, I think, like, long term, I think it was a good hire.
Yeah.
I think that your average college football fan is going to be absolutely stunned when they see this team play, because what are you used to seeing from Wazoo? It's throw, air it out, pass happy.
Mike Leach stuff.
It is not going to be that. It is not. It's going to be run the ball, 2 tight end sets. It's gonna be, you know, some smash mouth football. Now, he brought over a lot of guys from South Dakota State with him, but I mean, I think it's playing Wazoo. You know, Washington State's going to be hard. I mean, Washington State, I think, has one of the best young quarterbacks in college football.
You mean Washington?
I'm sorry, in Washington. Yes, sorry.
Yeah, Damon Williams.
Damon Williams.
Oh, he's special. He's special.
I mean, that receiving core is nasty. The running backs are nasty.
Yeah. The first thing I say about Washington is they have arguably the best quarterback, running back, wide receiver trio in the Big Ten in Damon Williams, Jonah Coleman, Denzel Boston. That is an explosive, talented 3 guys to start with. The question with Washington is the O-line better? Because they were criminally bad up front last year. So is the O-line better? And how does the new look D under new defensive coordinator Ryan Walters look? You know, he's going to want to play press man. He's going to want to stop the run, force the issue, make you throw the ball. So What do you think about this offense? Do you think they're going to be able to, be a team that can take on, a defense that maybe isn't settled right away and make some hay?
I mean, I think so. I mean, they have a couple good running backs. Angel Johnson, Leo. I don't want to butcher his last name. Is it Pulaski? But I mean, they're bringing in a new quarterback, right? John Mateer is off to Oklahoma.
Right.
Zevi Eckhouse, who was battling John Mateer last year, is kind of like in the lead.
Okay.
But I've heard like that it's definitely a quarterback competition. He hasn't won that job, and that even if he does win the job, they could have some special packages for someone like a Johnny Shepard. So a Johnny Shepard's like a electric runner, like very athletic quarterback.
Okay.
So I could see them using some packages for him. I think maybe they keep the game close early, but I just feel like to your point, the talent with Demond and Jonah Coleman and Denzel Boston and Omar Evans and whoever's going to be in that slot, whether that's Kevin Green or Rashid Williams, like they just have so much talent. We didn't talk about tight end, right? Decker DeGraff.
Yeah, he's a good player.
I just feel like Washington State has too much firepower, and they'll pull away in the game.
Washington has too much firepower.
I'm sorry, I did it again.
That's okay.
Washington, the Huskies have too much firepower, and they'll pull away as in the second half.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it too. I'm really curious to see what the offensive line and the defensive line looks like in this game, because Jed Fish, I said going into last year that I thought that out of the Pac-12 teams, Oregon was the only team that had an offensive and defensive line that was ready to compete at the Big Ten. And all three of those other teams struggled up front a lot. Jed Fish, to his credit, said so in the offseason, said they needed to fix it. Did they? This is going to be a good game to find that out, especially knowing now that that Wazoo wants to play a physical style of football. So it'll be that'll be one to watch early on to see just where Washington is at, like whether or not they win or lose. How it looks is going to be really interesting to me.
I mean, working in Wazoo's favor is the fact that it's a rivalry game, right? And in those games, strange things happen.
Oh, absolutely. And it's in week 3, so you've had a couple weeks to tweak things and kind of, get your ducks in a row and all that kind of stuff. So, or is this week 4 even? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, week 4. So it's, they'll both teams will have had a chance to settle in a little bit. It'll be a real chess match. So that'll be fun to see. All right, let's move right along to, this one has me really intrigued, Justice. The Northern Illinois going to Maryland to take on the Terrapins on September 6th. So Thomas Hammock has been up and down at NIU. He defeated national runner-up Notre Dame in South Bend last year, but then failed to convert on the momentum as the Huskies went just 8-5, 4-4 in the MAC. It's not a bad season, but after beating the Irish, you wanted to contend for a MAC title and really send a message and get ranked and all that kind of stuff. So what do you think happened last year to NIU, that they fell off a little bit after beating the Irish? And what do you think about Hammock as a head coach in general?
I like Coach Hammock. I think kind of what happened to him, I just think the quarterback play was kind of lackluster.
Yeah.
I think, their MO under Hammock is run the ball and play awesome defense. And right. they had some great running backs a year ago, and they had an amazing interior defensive line. They had two of the best defensive tackles in the G5, maybe two of the top duo, in one of the top duos in college football. But the quarterback play just kind of was lacking a year ago. Right. This is their last season in the MAC. They joined the Mountain West beginning in 2026.
That makes me so upset. But we won't go into that right now. Won't go into my feelings.
But yeah, I mean, I do think the quarterback play this year will be better than it was a year ago.
Okay.
I think the running back play at Northern Illinois with Telly Johnson Jr. and Siobhan Wright is going to be what you see from Northern Illinois every year, like phenomenal running backs. Probably the biggest question for me is that defensive line. They
Okay.
lost so much. They lost one guy to the NFL, another transferred, I believe, to Texas Tech, and so they always seem to kind of have those guys, right? And so
Right.
I'm sure there's talent. We just haven't seen it on the field yet.
Yeah. So this is really interesting because when you talk about Maryland, I know it's possible that it's Justin Martin, but like from all the hype I hear, it sounds like True Frosh QB Malik Washington is going to be the guy. That could make this game especially entertaining. Look, Justice, I'm going to be honest with you. Maryland's a dumpster fire. Their best players mostly transfer out because they don't have any. They have only enough NIL to sign guys out of high school, but not enough to retain the guys they sign. So it just like Purdue, Maryland is in a position where they've got half a dozen to 6 to 10 of their best players walking out the door, going somewhere else every year. And that is not a recipe for success in the Big Ten. You need continuity. You need guys who are upperclassmen. You need guys who have had years in the system at a lot of positions. What I'm trying to say, I guess, is that Maryland is a disaster. And to me, this is an upset waiting to happen. So, Justice, whom do you pick in this game and why?
I think Northern Illinois. Just because
Okay.
to your point, like especially if Malik Washington is the quarterback, that'll be week 2.
Yeah, week 2.
Getting his feet wet, kind of getting adjusted to the game. I feel like Northern Illinois year in and year out always plays solid defense, right? And they're going to control the ball with that running game. And I think the QB play has improved this year with under Josh Holst. So yeah, give me the Huskies. Now this game was played at the end of the year, where's game 10 for Malik Washington. Maybe it looks a little bit different, but early in the year with a true freshman at quarterback, I think you got to give the edge to the Huskies.
I mean, if Mike Locksley still has a job in week 10.
That's true.
Because I look at the Big Ten and there was just the one coaching change last year. And Locksley, man, he doesn't have the buyout that other guys have. Like Fickle and Lincoln Riley, those guys have buyouts protecting them. Locksley does not have that. He does not have that parachute to the keeping that, convincing them to keep him. So if he doesn't overachieve this year, I think he's going to be in trouble. And the bottom line is the other thing about Locksley is even before he started losing guys in the portal, he's never taken building the line of scrimmage seriously. He never has. And that is absolutely the first thing you need to do in the Big Ten. I mean, you look at Iowa every year, man. How many games does Iowa win? Not because they're good in the skill positions. They're often not. But because they're simply better than you on the line of scrimmage.
Absolutely. I mean, look at those guys. Michigan rolls off on that D line every year, right? Like
Michigan,
Ohio State.
Yes. Penn State.
Yes.
Now Oregon. Yeah. What those guys roll out on the lines of scrimmage is crazy. And you have to be ready to play against it if you're not one of those teams, or you're going to just get embarrassed.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But anyway, so we've got a couple upsets potentially already, Justice. This is exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always exciting when a G5 can knock off a P4.
Yep, for sure. All right, next up we have Ohio at Rutgers. And I am turning my sheet because I think I forgot to write down the date on this one. All right. Ohio at Rutgers, August 30th. Rutgers hosts
week 1.
Rutgers hosts Ohio. So Brian Smith was the OC, and he was hired from within, just as former head coach Tim Albin was hired from within after Frank Solich, a guy who I think is one of the most criminally underrated college football coaches of all time. Frank Solich built a fantastic program. And last year, under Albin, they won the MAC at 11-3, 7-1. So can they repeat and possibly notch an upset along the way? What do you think about hiring from within here?
I think it was a good hire. Brian Smith directed that offense a year ago. The team loves them. You saw a little bit of guys, a few guys follow Alba to Charlotte, but like there wasn't like mass defections.
Right.
And so I think the team loves the hire. I think it was a good hire. Ohio just kind of like they from the second half of the season, man, they really turned it on. They looked like a very different team. Their quarterback Parker Navarro, like he's fun to watch. He is fun to watch. Like it's been a long time since I've seen so much growth from a quarterback from like week 1 to the end of the season. But like,
Okay.
I mean, he was like the MAC championship game, their bowl win. Like when I was watching him, I was like, oh wow, like he's making plays, making throws that he wasn't like making earlier in the year. And so they like many of the MAC schools, Ohio plays a brutal out of conference schedule.
Yes.
But the positive here is they play Rutgers week 1, right?
Yeah.
So they're not going to be beat up.
Right.
The current spread on that game is 14.5. And that just seems like way too high to me.
It seems disrespectful to Ohio.
Rutgers favored by 14.5.
That seems disrespectful to Ohio to me. Like I would have said that the line would be closer to like, I don't know, 8.5.
8, 7, something like that. Yeah.
Because
9.
So here's what I'm going to say about Rutgers. I'm going to go on my little Rutgers rant. Greg Schiano, great coach. Great coach. They have new running backs, but we saw in the bowl game that Raymond is really good and can play.
Yep.
I think they have legit guys at running back. I think they have receivers who are pretty good for Rutgers level. They have guys who can stretch the field a little bit. And that's important because what they also have is a jumpy, inconsistent senior quarterback in Ethan Kaliak-Manis. And that guy can be a different guy, not just from drive to drive, but from throw to throw. He throws a really good slant pattern. He throws a really nice deep ball. He throws pretty well on like deep ins over the middle. He really, really struggles to put touch on the ball into the point he can't do it. Everything he throws is on a frozen rope 100 miles an hour. So a lot of balls are up for grabs.
I mean, he lives up to that nickname of the Greek rifle, right?
Dude, for real, and not always in a good way. And that's why that's why even last year, everyone said, oh, Ethan really improved last year. I mean, he was still under 54% passing, like completion percentage. So
go on. I was going to say, to your point, like it's a shame because like they have Ian Strong, KJ Duff, they bring in DT Sheffield, Antoine Raymond at running back, CJ Campbell at running back. Those guys are all talented. Yes. But the quarterback position is going to really hold them back.
I think it is. And I also think that as much as there's a machine on defense. So quick story, Justice. I'll be fast. Rutgers' new defensive coordinator is a guy named Rob Smith. I know Rob Smith because he was once the Minnesota Golden Gophers defensive coordinator. And Justice, we at one point, I think he gave up like over 50 points, over 40 points, like 3 times in 4 weeks or something. Gets fired mid-season in 2018, right? Minnesota immediately becomes a top 25 defense and has been a top 10 to top 25 defense ever since. Basically, I think they had one bad year, 2023, but basically it's been a machine that is self-perpetuated. Rob Smith is a criminally bad hire for Rutgers. He puts too much on his players' plates. He asks them to make too many reads, and then they play slow. And he doesn't know how to balance that out with college-level players. Maybe he does would work in the NFL, but I'm not convinced that it works in the Big Ten. So this being early in the year, we had a bold predictions episode, Justice, and one of my bold predictions was that Rob Smith would get fired mid-season. And if Rutgers drops this game, he might get fired mid-season.
I was gonna say, and you couple that perpetuated with the fact that like Rutgers is at such a talent disadvantage in the Big Ten as is, right? Like,
yeah,
just exacerbates the problem.
Yeah. I mean, I will say Shiano has built it. There's a lot more talent there than there ever has been. They're a much tougher out than they used to be. Look, if Ethan has taken a step at all, I think Rutgers should win this game. But I don't feel confident he has. I'm not picking Ohio. I'm picking a coin flip because I just don't know. So I'm going to defer to you, the group of five expert. Who do you got here?
I think like being week 1, I'd pick Ohio. Now, if it was like week 3 or 4, I probably wouldn't, just because they're going to be so beat up at that point. But I think week 1, I can see Ohio pulling off the upset. I certainly don't think if Rutgers wins, they're not winning by more than 2 touchdowns, which is what the spread is.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, I think this is a very close, ugly game. Here's the thing about Kirk Soraka. He's going to run inside zone 35 times. Can you stop inside zone? Because he's going to run it that many times. I know Kirk Soraka well. He also once coached at Minnesota. So, like, they got to be ready for that. But if Ohio's ready for that, they could pull off an upset. It's there for the taking, because Ethan is not going to win you the game. You just got to hope he doesn't lose you the game.
And if there is a weak point on that Ohio team, it's probably the linebackers, because like 3 of them, the 3 starters all followed Albin over to Charlotte. So that is that. I would say if there's going to be a weak point, that's where it is, the linebackers.
Awesome. All right. Next up, we have Miami of Ohio with 2 games, two appearances on this list. At Wisconsin on August 28th in prime time on a Thursday night, one of the teams kicking off the Big Ten season. And then at Rutgers the next week on Saturday, the 6th. So when I look at Miami, Ohio, I think Chuck Martin is a coaching legend. And he reminds me of former Fresno State and Cal coach Jeff Tedford in the fact that he always seems to have a dangerous, competent passing attack with athletes that are better than you think they should be, with a quarterback who's got a lot of moxie and talent. Is that the case this year? Does Miami, Ohio have those things?
They certainly do. So they bring in DeQuan Finn, former MAC Player of the Year 2 years ago.
Right.
He transferred. He was at Toledo. He transferred to Baylor last year. Now he's back in the MAC, and people call him the Lamar Jackson of the MAC.
Okay.
He's not like Lamar Jackson level, right? But he can
make plays with his feet.
Yeah, he is a dual threat guy.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I like, to your point, I think Chuck Martin teams are always well coached. They play solid defense.
Yes. Yes.
I would say I'm slightly concerned about the defense, because I thought they had a really good defense a year ago. But they lost a lot of pieces on that defense. Okay. Brian Ugwu on the defensive line is gone. Matt Salopek is now in the NFL linebacker. Rayon Strader transferred, I think, to Ole Miss or somewhere in the SEC. They lost a lot on defense. So I'm probably most interested to see how that defense plays. Like, right. Can it be, a Chuck Martin defense? They always is pretty stout. It might take them a few games to get to that point. But like, DeQuan Finn is electric with the ball in his hands. He's a playmaker. And so I don't think you can count him out in the game against Wisconsin.
For sure. And so I guess that was going to be, those are my questions. Essentially, do you give them much of a chance against Wisconsin or Rutgers? Like, how do you feel about, for first Wisconsin? How do you feel about it?
I mean, is there a chance? Sure. I probably would pick Wisconsin. Yeah. I think if they had last year's defense, I might pick Miami. Right. But I think I would lean Wisconsin. And then the game against Rutgers, again, that's probably a toss up. Like, yeah, I probably slightly lean Rutgers. It's probably like a 60-40 for me, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, Rutgers, like you said, if there's some holes in the defense, I think both of these teams, Rutgers and Wisconsin, are going to be teams that want to run the ball. Wisconsin, really wants to run the ball. They are going back to after 2 years of trying to run the air raid and recruiting to a totally different offensive identity, they are now recruiting to be a power run team again with Jeff Grimes taking over the offense. So the question is, how soon does it work? Because this is a big scheme change for everybody. So I kind of feel like it's in Miami of Ohio's favor that it's in week 1, because you've got a bunch of new pieces on defense, but Wisconsin's running a whole new offense.
In the circles that I run in, they called that the dairy raid up there in Wisconsin.
They did call it the dairy raid. It never bore much milk.
Yes.
Did not do that.
I mean, I think they have some talented running backs there, right? Dylan Jones,
yes,
he's good. Darion Dupree.
Yep, they're good. They're good. They're good, but my question is, are they Wisconsin great? Because those are two different things. I have not seen anything to suggest that we've got Jonathan Taylor or Ron Dane or Monte Ball, Braylon Allen. I don't think they're those guys. But if they are, that changes things. I do think that Wisconsin should finally be a little better on defense. They have better body types on the defensive line. They were kind of undersized last year. So, yeah, I lean Wisconsin here too. I think it's close for like a half. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if Miami, Ohio is like leading at half or something. But I do think Wisconsin's eventually going to wear them down. And I sort of think the same thing with Rutgers. Although, again, with Ethan at quarterback, man, it's always up for grabs. It's always up for grabs. So if you can get them on third, you can get Rutgers into third and long, makes plays. Tell your DBs to go make plays, because there's going to be a lot of 50-50 balls. They're going to throw YOLO balls. Kirk Soraka is not afraid to do that. And Ethan will hit on some of them, and you got to make a play on the ball. And can you do it?
Going back to Wisconsin, their quarterback situation concerns me a little bit, right? Like you bring
in Billy Edwards.
You bring in Billy Edwards, and then you also bring in Danny O'Neal from San Diego State. And
yes,
he did not look great at San Diego State last year. And so I'm sure it's Billy Edwards' job, but like, I don't know, like neither one of them inspire much confidence for me.
No, I mean, we torched Billy Edwards last year. I think he threw 3 picks against us or something. I mean, by the end of that game, he was just throwing balls up for grabs. For real. So I do have concern. Billy Edwards also, Mike Locksley came out publicly and basically, when a coach makes it clear that they're talking about, basically said, we had some guys who left who were thinking about money and they were the problem. Most people believe that Mike Locksley was pretty strongly directed at Billy Edwards.
Like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like if I'm going to spend some money, like Billy Edwards is not who I'm calling.
No, for sure. It's weird. Luke Fickell, after putting Desmond Ridder into the NFL, it's weird. Luke Fickell has not been able to find or develop his own quarterback at Wisconsin. I think that's kind of an indictment on him as a coach, that he hasn't been able to do that yet.
Yeah,
because he recruits well. He doesn't always retain. The thing about Fickell is that guys want to go play for him, but they don't always want to keep playing for him. He's had a lot of guys transfer out but they recruit well. So Wisconsin's one of those teams that you could tell me that they're going to go 5-7. You could tell me they're going to go 8-4, and they play the toughest schedule in America. And anywhere in there, I wouldn't be that surprised. So it'll be an interesting game, I think. But yeah, I'm with you. I think we'll say Wisconsin and Rutgers pull it out against Miami of Ohio, potentially. And then we've got a game that's very close to my heart. We have the Buffalo Bulls heading to Dinkytown to play against the Minnesota Golden Gophers to start off the season on Minnesota's traditional Thursday night, August 28th start. So we've got a good team in Buffalo, and head coach Pete Lembo went a respectable 9-4, 6-2 in the MAC last year. In year 1. So I'll just ask, what do you think this Buffalo team is capable of doing this year? Is this a MAC title contender?
Yeah, absolutely. I like there to me, there's 4 teams that I feel wouldn't be shocked if they win the MAC, and Buffalo is in that mix of 4. I think Pete Lembo did a phenomenal job at Buffalo a year ago. They do lose their quarterback, but the quarterback coming in, you guys should be familiar with, Taquan Roberson.
All right.
former, was he Penn State, and then I think was he at Kansas State after that, I think.
Right. I forgot after Penn State, but yeah, I remember when he was at Penn State.
Yeah, so he should be their starting quarterback.
Okay.
Their running back, Al-J Henderson, really good. Linebacker, not to go on a rant, but Buffalo
rant away.
Buffalo had the best college football linebacker in all of college football a year ago, and Sean Dolak.
Okay.
The fact that the man did not win the college football award. I forget, is it the Butkus Award, I think, for linebackers.
Yeah, Butkus Award.
And Walker won that at Georgia. That was like utterly ridiculous in my opinion.
Yeah.
Walker, yeah.
Walker, they got him back, this year.
Yeah, Dolak's gone. He's in NFL.
Dolak's gone. Okay.
But
yeah.
Red Murdoch.
Okay.
So Sean Dolak and Red Murdoch were the top 2 college football players in terms of tackles a year ago, and they played on the same team. Red Murdoch is back. They got Deion Crawford, a guy that was so talented a year ago, and only he's 225 pounds. They because they had Dolak and Murdoch, and they really only played 2 linebackers. They would use Deion Crawford as a defensive end. If they switched to 3 linebackers, he'd play linebacker. But the kid was so talented, they had to get him on the field. So he's kind of taking over that Sean Dolak role, and he had 8.5 sacks a year ago in a limited role.
Okay, that's impressive.
Victor Snow, awesome story. He was a walk-on a year ago. He earned a scholarship in season. He's a talented receiver. The problem for the Bulls will be they'll go as Taquan goes, right? And that worries me a little bit.
He has a tendency
especially against a Big Ten team, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that they. I mean, I think they have some firepower, like I said, but the quarterback position is probably my biggest concern with the Bulls in 2025.
Yeah. Okay, that's really interesting. So here's the PJ Fleck. I don't know how closely you follow, but here's what PJ Fleck wants to do in the out of conference. And he's like a lot of coaches. He doesn't want to show you anything schematically if he doesn't have to. So you are going to see the vanilla version of the Minnesota offense for most of the game to see if that works. So that always makes me nervous. And I know there are, I think that's a 17.5 point spread or something last time I saw. But I have a lot of respect for Buffalo as a program. If there are any Buffalo Bulls fans out there, you tell your team that we respect them. They're a really good MAC program. We've had trouble with them before. We had games that were close for a while before we pulled away. I think in 2017 or 18, we had a game with them. I think when PJ was first taken over, that was a little too close for comfort at halftime. I respect them. Here's the thing. Minnesota, I think with the exception of Michigan at 2 and probably Penn State at 1, I think Minnesota might have the next best pair of running backs in the Big Ten. Darius Taylor is fantastic. And you look at A.J. Turner, the transfer. I mean, all about A.J. Turner.
He's electric.
And I've seen him practice now. He's a different kind of fast. Yeah. I literally turned to the guys next to me, and I was like, holy expletive. That guy is fast, go ahead.
It was criminal a year ago, that he didn't get more touches at Marshall.
He averaged 8.5 yards a carry.
Right. He'd get 10 carries and 100 yards, but they need especially at the G5 level, you had to feed AJ Turner, and they just didn't do it.
It seems strange that they didn't.
Now they won the Sun Belt, so they did something right?
Right.
I mean, but
now you've got two good guys, and they're different. Darius Taylor has really good he has really good short area agility, but he's not a deep threat. He's more of a he can make you miss in a phone booth, but he can also run you over in a phone booth. And he'll do both of those things. I mean, I think everybody remembers when he popped a USC safety in the open field last year and just dropped the guy like a bad habit. And you were just, that's the Darius Taylor experience. He's been, he's going into year 3. He's a special running back. They
with
have
the
pretty good receivers. I think the thing that, oh, go ahead.
with the addition of AJ Turner, do you think like they use Darius less in the passing game than what we saw last year?
I think they're both going to get a lot of touches because you have a redshirt freshman quarterback. And I'll tell you, Justice, I've seen him practice in the spring and the fall. I think that Drake Lindsay, and I'm going on record, I think he's the most talented Gopher quarterback arm wise I've ever seen. Ever.
Yeah, and like I mean, again, he's someone that like you could potentially see, I think, in the NFL one day, right?
Yes.
He's not going to maybe be a star, but he could
No,
be,
no, 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 no. No.
a Brett Gabbert, a long time backup or whatever, right?
Yes. That's what I look at him and I see that I think he has that potential. He has a giant arm, but he's accurate, but he can also throw with touch. He's reportedly a great leader and all that stuff. But because he's a redshirt freshman, PJ, especially in the first month, I know PJ, he's going to want to he's going to want to run the ball whenever he can, So that's going to be a thing. The Gophers have a pretty elaborate running scheme, and we'll pull off a lot of different kinds of looks at you, different receiver sets, tight ends, all that kind of stuff. I think this is a really good game for a while because Minnesota has 3 new starters on the offensive line, and I think that in the first half you could see that really come into play, and I could see myself like watching this game and thinking, oh no, the offensive line can't open holes for Darius and AJ. What are we gonna do? But and the corners, there's a new guy starting at the second corner, and at nickelback. But safeties are really deep and productive with returning Frosh, All-American Coy Parrish. So I guess for me, and this might be you tell me if I have my Minnesota glasses on. I think this is close for like 2.5 quarters. And the new O-line gets acclimated. And then I think once Buffalo gets a little tired, the Gophers start breaking some long runs and eventually pull out a game. But I don't know about 17 points, man. I don't know about all that. That's a lot.
Yeah,
because I respect
the game
Buffalo.
plan. Yeah, like to your point, like the game plan going to allow for that that big of a difference? But I agree. I think Minnesota pulls it off. How much offense do you think Coy plays?
Oh, he's going to play a decent amount. I think.
I mean, we're not talking like Travis Hunter levels of offense.
No. He's not a starter. He's not one of the 3. So he's not one of the 3 best receivers, but I've heard he's like the 4th or 5th best receiver.
So you're talking like 10, 15 snaps a game, maybe something like that?
I think they're going to have some packages they like for him. I think they're going to use him either to get him the ball or use him as a decoy. I don't know if they're going to ask him to go out there and stock block, right? Like he's gonna be in there.
Freaking All-American safety out there doing that, probably not.
Right. Yeah. I don't see that. I don't see that happening. So I think he's gonna be in there in high leverage downs, and either they're gonna get him the ball or they're gonna pretend to get him the ball and use that to open things up. So I think that's gonna be really interesting. I saw him catch a 65-yard pass in practice, which was really impressive. He ran past the corner, and man, Coy's different, man. Coy's different. The way he plays. But I think the more important thing is that he's such a good player on defense. And so is Kerry Brown at the other safety spot. And, the word is that they like Aiden Gooseby a lot too. So the word is that they're going to bring Coy into the box more to play more nickel to allow that. And I think that, you let Coy loose at the nickel and start letting him blitz once in a while, he's going to make plays. So I think this is an ugly win. I think you're going to have a lot of Minnesota fans gnashing their teeth after. But I think this is the kind of game PJ wins by like 13 or 16, calls it good, tells everybody to calm down. It's week 1. So that's what I expect to see. If we win by more than that, I'll be excited. But I think this is going to be a tough game. I think Minnesota needs to make sure to take care of the ball and not turn it over, because it's the kind of game where if you turn the ball over a couple times early, you could put yourself in a hole you don't want to be
in. And you talk about turning the ball over. Red Murdoch, he is a master at punching the ball out. I'm pretty sure he led all of college football with that a year ago, forcing fumbles.
Absolutely. All right. Do you have time to talk about a couple more games?
Absolutely.
Right on. I appreciate it, Justice. Let's move on and talk about Colorado State at Washington. So this is August 30th. This is week 1. So Jay Norvell is 16-21 in 3 years, but last year he went a solid 8-5, 6-1 in the Mountain West. So the offensive coordinator I see is Matt Mumme. Suffice it to say, with a name like that, is this an air raid team? Am I right there?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
I'm
curious.
Last year they were very much, a ground and pound team.
Okay.
And so I think they learned enough over the years to kind of lean into their personnel. So
right.
Yeah, you hear Matt Mumme, you immediately think of Hal Mumme and the godfather of the air raid. But I think this team, like, they will utilize their talent, to the best abilities of what they have.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Jay Norvell, he's a great coach. Do you think, though, they can match up with Washington, or is this another case where Washington's too explosive?
I think Washington's too explosive.
Okay.
I mean, the probably the biggest question marks for Colorado State are wide receiver.
Okay.
They lose Torrey Horton, right? He's now off to the NFL and the Seattle Seahawks. By far their best receiver. They do have some talent at running back. Jalen Dupree and Justin Marshall, 2 talented guys. And then they have some talent at tight end. And the first guy I want to mention, coolest name, hands down, like in college football this year. And he's playing in Colorado, and his name is Rocky Beers.
Rocky Beers. That's great.
Rocky Beers. And if you don't know, he has a brother who's also his brother also played football, but now I believe he went to the Air Force. He wants to be a Ranger. But his brother's name is Rowdy Beers.
Rowdy and Rocky Beers. Man, that sounds like a fun-loving family if I've ever heard one.
But Rocky Beers is a talented guy. Jackson Warren's talented at tight end. I think the biggest question for me for Colorado State is probably what happens at wide receiver, and then offensive line. They had 2 or 3 like all conference offensive linemen a year ago that they've lost,
right.
And so they got to rebuild that offensive line. So that's a big question mark as well. Defensively, they have a guy that it must have been 3 years ago now that kind of had a pretty good season there at Western Kentucky. Jaquez Evans, they call him Donut Evans. He wears 0. He had an amazing year at Western Kentucky. Went down the following year to injury. Last year he transferred to Baylor. Didn't really play much at Baylor. Now he's back with Tyson Summers, who comes over from Western Kentucky as a new DC there for the Rams. And Tyson Summers was the guy that he had the 100 tackle and 10 or 12 sack season under. So Jaquez Evans is definitely someone to kind of look at on that defensive line.
Okay.
Owen Long at linebacker, is a good player, but Washington just it's just too much talent in that Washington team. I think for Colorado State to give them too much trouble.
Probably, but it is week 1. So
it is week 1.
Week 1, we always a little asterisk because there's no preseason in college football. We're just seeing it out, them figure it out live. So that's always a little scary. All right, next up, New Mexico at Michigan, August 30th. So head coach Jason Eck revitalized Idaho, took them twice to the FCS quarterfinals. Now he takes over a Lobos team that went just 5-7 last year and hopes to turn them around too. What kind of expectations do you have for Jason Eck in year 1?
So when you say just 5-7, I will tell you that was a phenomenal 5-7.
Okay.
New Mexico was not a good team. Bronco Mendenhall came there and he had them on up until the last week, they could have become bowl eligible. And if they had gotten bowl eligible, I know it wouldn't have happened, but Bronco Mendenhall realistically deserved a shot at National Coach of the Year.
Oh wow.
Because New Mexico just didn't have a lot of talent. They had Devin Dampier on offense, right? And he was electric. But they probably had they had the worst defense in all of college football a year ago in FBS level anyway.
Yikes.
I think Eck was a good hire. I think he will get things turned around. But I don't know that's going to happen. I don't know that they'll be as successful this year as they were a year ago. Jack Lane, quarterback, followed Eck over from Idaho. He had like I want to say it was an elbow or a shoulder issue in the spring. Didn't really play. Did not have surgery, to the best of my knowledge, and like those kind of things really concern me, right? As a quarterback. So they bring in Scott Trey Humphrey. He's a decent running back, but I just don't. They don't have the talent, man. Like they didn't have a lot of talent last year, and I feel like maybe this year they have even less talent. So I do think Eck will get things turned around. They give him some time, but yeah, I don't see them pulling an upset here.
No, I mean, Michigan's stacked at running back and offensive line, and oh yeah, they have a guy named Bryce Underwood at quarterback. The hope is you can confuse a true Frosh QB in game one. I'd say the fear is that Michigan just chooses to run all over you and doesn't give you a chance to defend many passes.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what we're going to see. I think we're going to see a heavy dose of that running back, that star running back duo for Michigan. All right, you've been really generous with your time, Justice, but let's if you're cool with this, let's just quickly touch on these three more. So, for friend of the pod, Max, who is a Buckeyes fan, but also a Middle Tennessee alum and fan. So, Max, this is for you. We got Middle Tennessee at Wisconsin, September 6th. So I'm just going to say straight up, is there any chance this Middle Tennessee team can compete in year 2 under head coach Derek Mason? What are the reasons for optimism?
I would say probably the biggest reason for optimism is their quarterback, Nick Vattiato. Okay. He's a good quarterback. I think this is year 4 of him being a starter.
Okay.
And so I think he's a talented guy. They have Jakail Middlebrook at running back. He's talented. But they lose probably the other 2 biggest weapons on offense. One, Amari Kelly, wide receiver, now at Michigan State. And then the other was a tight end by the name of Holden Willis, who's graduated. They lose those. Those are 2 key losses. I'm not a big Derek Mason fan, personally.
No, he has not maximized his talent when he's had the chance to coach.
No. I will say, though, so we recently got shouted out on the Solid Verbal.
That's awesome. Congratulations, man.
And it's because Ty was watching all of our G5 Hive previews to prep for his own show.
Absolutely.
And so he was using some of the little known facts that we talked about, and was talking about that on the Solid Verbal. But anyway,
dude, that's amazing. The Solid Verbal, we're big fans of it here. Ty actually was nice enough. He came on and did our Penn State preview with us.
Awesome.
So that was very cool for us. But to have a big podcast like the Solid Verbal shout you out on the air, man, that's big stuff. Congratulations.
It was cool. It was really cool. But one of the facts that he pointed out that was brought out on our show by from the Blue Raider podcast, who we were interviewing, they told us that Derek Mason decided to get rid of alternate helmets, alternate uniforms. Oh, they got 1 helmet, 2 jerseys, 2 pair of pants, and that's it. And they say by doing that they saved $1 million, and they used that $1 million to go back to the players in form of revenue sharing.
That's great.
So that was a pretty cool story. I really, that was that. I really enjoyed it. I mean, he's giving back to the program, and to be honest with you, that in my opinion, that's a better use of that money than to have 2 or 3 more helmets or whatever.
Absolutely. And I'm firmly on the train that we have too many uniform combinations at Minnesota. So I would be totally cool if we cut back a little bit.
So for that reason, I'm rooting for the Blue Raiders. Like I said, I'm a big fan of Nick Vattiato, the quarterback, and Jakail Middlebrook, the running back. But
can they stress Wisconsin at all?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I just feel like with the Wisconsin quarterback situation, anything's possible, right?
Yeah, no, it's true. If you get Billy Edwards on the right day throwing YOLO balls, man, then just you got to make the plays when the ball is there. That's what you got to do. Last year, the Gophers had Justin Wally and Corey Parrish and guys like that. You got to have a couple ball hawks in the secondary who are going to be like, that's my ball. Yeah.
I feel like the strength of the defense for Middle Tennessee is their linebackers. They have two really good linebackers, and so that's their strength on defense.
That's what
They're
you want if you're going to stop, a good running game.
absolutely. So I mean, is it possible they upset them? Absolutely. If I was like trying to like put odds on it, I'd probably be like 65-35, 70-30,
Okay.
something like that.
Sure. Yeah, well, it'll be interesting. It's week 2. I'm with you. Derek Mason has not been great in the past, but he seems like a guy that people really respect and root for. And his players seem to play pretty hard for him, at least whether or not they're schematically put in the correct places to succeed is a different question. But yeah, so that'll be interesting to watch. Max, again, that one was for you, buddy. All right. Next up, let's talk quickly Ball State, Purdue, August 30th. So, we got head coach Mike Uremovich in year 1 in Muncie. Do you have thoughts on this matchup? Can Ball State make this interesting? Because Purdue has like 70 new players, and I genuinely have very little idea what they're going to look like, especially this early in the year. It could be a team that's a little messy, that's a little disorganized, trying to figure it out. Can Ball State take advantage of that?
I think it's two like ugly teams playing each other. Honestly,
Okay. All right, fair.
I do like the hire of Yurmovich. I think he'll be good for Ball State. And like I hope they have a good year. Just from a story perspective, quarterback Kyle Kelly. So he started off his career at quarterback. He's very much a dual threat. He's very much a runner. Like the passing leaves a little bit to be desired.
Okay.
At least the last time we saw him play quarterback, which would be 2 years ago. Last year they asked him like, "You're not going to play quarterback. We want you to play defensive back."
Oh wow!
And so he stuck around, and he played cornerback. He played some tight end. He played some wildcat quarterback.
Wow,
he was really like a Swiss Army knife, if you will.
Yeah.
For the Cardinals. Well, with the new Rumovich coming over, the new offensive scheme, he is back to playing quarterback. And so, from just like you don't see guys stick around like that anymore, right? In today's world,
never.
Like I am the quarterback, and you tell me to go play quarterback, I'm gonna go tell you to take a hike. I'm leaving, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna go play in the FCS or something.
Right. And so the fact that Kyle Kelly stuck around, I'd like to see him succeed.
Yeah, that's a great story. I love that.
I am concerned just because the last time we saw him play quarterback, like he won games for Ball State, but like I don't know that the passing is there for them to be able to make the upset.
Right on.
Well, and I call it an upset, but like,
yeah.
I mean, like neither of these teams are very good.
No, I think it's going to be a long one. I got Purdue in this game, but I think it's going to be a long season. I think Purdue's over under Vegas is at 2.5, and that sounds fair. And I think if Purdue got to like 4-8, it would be a success when you consider how bad they were last year. And also, they weren't just bad. They lost like 10 guys in the portal. It was a fire sale in West Lafayette. Everybody took a Purdue player. Oregon did. Ohio State did. Minnesota did. Indiana did. Everybody stole. Illinois took their punter. Everybody stole somebody from Purdue. So it's a whole new regime. So it'll be at least interesting to track that because it will be the first game with a new regime in West Lafayette. So I'll be very curious to see how they hold up against, an interesting Ball State team. All right, last game. And Justice, again, thank you so much for all your time, man. This has been great. Georgia Southern at USC, September 6th. So Clay Helton's been really good at Georgia Southern. Went 8-5, 6-2 in the Sun Belt last year. What are your predictions for how Georgia Southern does this season overall?
So like I don't know if Georgia Southern fans would agree with that. He's been really good.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, because I feel like he gets you to that 8 wins, but
right.
he can't seem to ever get them over the proverbial hump, right?
Okay.
To the championship game, to winning a Sun Belt, East or even a Sun Belt championship title. And I'll be frank with you, like I feel like it's more of the same this year.
Okay.
I think they're in the top 3 probably in the
Right.
Sun Belt East. But I don't think that they win the Sun Belt East, and definitely don't have them in the Sun Belt championship game. They have some talent. I mean, they played Boise State pretty tough week 1 last year, right?
Right.
Um,
Right.
the defense concerns me.
Right.
That they had problems on defense a year ago, and they lost their best defender, Marquise Watson Trent. He's now at Nebraska.
Oh, so it's a double loss because you lost him and he goes to a team I don't like.
Yeah. But I mean, they have some pieces. You know, J.C. French at quarterback. He's got functional mobility. Like, he's not like a dual threat guy. He can take it off and get some yards, right?
Right. And just to be clear, Cornhusker fans, I love you. I just as you don't like PJ Fleck, it's a sports thing. Off the field, nothing but love and respect. All right, go on.
They have talent at the skill positions. O.J. Arnold at running back. Camden Brown, a transfer from Auburn at receiver. Josh Dallas, receiver. Those 2 guys are talented. Defensively, like Chance Gamble and defensive backfields, probably, like, if I had to pick one defensive player, he's the guy. He's got all conference potential. And then they bring in a linebacker from App State, Brendan Harrington. I just think, like, he's going to have so much opportunity that he's going to be successful, at least from a statistical standpoint, in 2025.
Right.
But I don't think they have anything for USC.
Yeah.
Waymon Jordan, like, if folks don't know who Waymon Jordan is,
he's
oh my gosh,
he's a special running back.
You're in for a treat. Like, I got to watch a lot of him a year ago.
Yeah.
So I'm a big Old Dominion guy.
Okay.
And we recruited Waymon before he kind of took off and got the USC offers in the world.
Right.
But we also got several of his teammates at Hutchinson that are coming to ODU. So I watched Hutchinson in the playoffs, watched him in the JUCO national championship game. So Waymon he's a special guy. I think USC fans are gonna love Waymon Jordan.
Yeah, for sure. USC, man, they just they always have great skill position players. I'm not a big Jaden Mayava guy at quarterback. I think he throws too many picks, but he's very talented and can do things with his legs and with his arms, and with his arm, excuse me. And I'm with you. I think this is a game USC wins pretty comfortably. I think USC, they've upgraded the guys they have on the line of scrimmage on defense, especially. They were undersized last year. They have a lot of bigger, more athletic body types this year. So I think they're going to be more of a Big Ten team. I went into last year, I want to toot my own horn a little bit. John and I both picked USC to go 7-5, and they went 6-6. And everybody told us we were crazy. And I was like, you wait. And it happened. And they got beat by, Minnesota and Michigan and Washington and, whatever. So, but I think USC will be better this year. I do think that they'll be more competitive. I think they'll be more of a Big Ten team. I think Lincoln Riley maybe learned his lesson. He might run the ball a little more this year, because last year he should have run the ball more than he did. So it'll be really interesting to track USC this year. But I'm with you. I think they beat Georgia Southern here. What were you just going to say?
I do think, like, Lynn, defensive coordinator that they hired over from UCLA to USC a year ago, I think that was a very underrated hire.
Fantastic hire.
I mean, I think he's an amazing coach. He's done great things for that defense.
He's the real deal for sure.
Yeah, and I do wonder if Lincoln Riley is not on the hot seat.
Yeah, I mean, they can't really fire him because the buyout's too big, but I wonder if they tell him, hey, you got to get lost. We don't like you anymore. And he slinks off to be an offensive coordinator in the NFL or something.
Yeah.
Or does he stand on business and say, pay me my money?
I'm sure he's not going to slink off. He's like anyone else. They're either going to have to fire him or pay him.
That's the thing. Wisconsin and USC are kind of in a dance with the one who brung ya kind of situation, because to excuse the colloquialism, it's like the buyouts are so big the next couple years, they got to really hope they make progress, to the point where I think if Wisconsin goes 5-7, I think Luke Fickell keeps his job. I do, because I just think that it's too expensive to fire him, and they're recruiting pretty well, and all that stuff is going decently well. And I just don't know if they have the appetite to swallow that whole, that hit and pay all that money. I just don't know if Wisconsin wants to do that. And USC is on the hook for even more money. Yeah. So I don't know if anybody wants to pay those buyouts is the only thing. So it's a really interesting situation, especially if those two have bad seasons.
He probably gets a little bit of a pass, right? Being year 2 in the Big Ten, and they give him, make a built-in excuse, if you will. But the seat's got to be getting warm.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the pressure is ratcheting up both in Madison and in LA. I mean, there's no question about it. They expect results. Wisconsin bare minimum expects a bowl game, and USC, USC expects to win like 9 games. And if they don't, I mean, I had I don't know if we had a guest, USC Jay, who's great on the podcast. He thinks they're going to the playoff, man. And the fan base, the USC fan base, very much thinks they're going to the playoff. So I'm not of that belief, but that is what they believe. So if Lincoln Riley better at least make it look good. Because if he goes out there and loses to Iowa, people are going to be pissed. And don't be surprised if he doesn't do that. Yeah. Lost to Minnesota last year. Iowa's a similar team in a lot of ways. Don't be surprised if that's a tough game for USC this year. So I'm watching that.
Iowa has a quarterback this year.
Yes, Gronowski from SDSU. Yes. He's legit, dude. Yes. He's kind of like a poor man's Tim Tebow, because he's a battering ram. He's a big guy, and he can do some things with his arm. He can tuck in, run it. I think the fact that he's a number in the run game is going to open up things for Iowa for their running backs.
Absolutely.
For sure. Justice, this has been amazing, man. I really appreciate you coming on. Plug your stuff one more time, and we'll get you out of here.
Yeah, so you can find us on X at G5Hive, on YouTube at G5Hive. We're wrapping up our Worker Bee series. There's 67, or there will be 67 when we're done. Team previews, where we deep dive with the beat reporters, offense, defense, special teams. We talk it all. Those are on our YouTube. You'll find player interviews with the top players in the G5, and then we just kicked off our live show season this past Monday, and so in season we go live every Monday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, X. We're also on Instagram. The Instagram is _G5_Hive. But yeah, you can find us, X, YouTube, Instagram, podcast available on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
And the YouTube and the Twitter will both be attached to this episode. So you can go directly from here to see Justice's work. And honestly, you should. I'm encouraging everyone to go out this second. If you have not subscribed to the G5 Hive, just go down in this video. It's going to be the first thing you see. Subscribe, because it is awesome. Justice doing great work. I mean, he got shouted out by the Solid Verbal.
We just hit 1,000 subscribers like middle of July too. So
congratulations!
It's been a great summer.
Subscribers, yeah, that's fantastic. And how many years have you been doing it?
We just kind of like finished year 2, really.
Okay.
That's
exciting.
We started August 2 years ago, August. So
that's awesome. Well, as someone who's 1 year in podcasting on YouTube, that's very inspirational for me. So I appreciate that. Justice, it's been awesome. Thank you so much. And for everyone, you know how it is. Please, if you are not subscribed already, subscribe to We Live for Saturday. We are on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Podcast Addict. But what we really need is you to subscribe to YouTube, even if you're an audio-only listener. So please subscribe to the YouTube, and we will see you. We are doing we're turning to the season. So get excited for a lot more content coming up between now and when the season starts 2 weeks from today, which is Thursday. So we'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for being here.